Hey everyone, it's John from FMS again. So I wanted to talk today about like how we've been talking a lot about what's working in the market right now because it's been kind of a horrible year before, and it's gotten a lot better than the second half of the year. But I have to admit that kind of when we talk about what's working, it's a little bit of a lie or really a misrepresentation in the sense that depending on where you sit in the industry right now, what's working is very, very different than it is in other parts of the industry. And what I mean by that is that what's working on, say, for a market-wise company on the newsletter side is on the acquisition and back end is very different than what is working for people who are doing a lot of trader education coaching, right? The marketing models themselves have actually diverged in a lot of ways. They are not the same. Um, the What's working for people who are building audience to monetize through advertising is different than it is obviously for either of those two groups. And so where you sit in the business and where you sit in the industry kind of determines where are the areas and models that are working the best right now. And so what I want to do today is just kind of run through a couple of things to let you know about in January at FMS. I've got kind of, I call it a thematic here. It is kind of the same thing that we always do in the sense of like what's working now, but it's splitting up, right? There's different things that are working for different groups. And so I try to get people who are kind of the top performers right now in all these different areas to come show you what's working in their model. Because while there's different things that are working, there's still a ton of overlap of things that can be adapted and used together. And it's basically we're emerging out of this, kind of wild ride of the last 3 years, I think, right? That really started with the COVID boom in that great year, that record-breaking year in 2020 into 2021, that was followed by this horrific period. But we're emerging back into, I think, a different business environment, different marketing environment, and understanding the different kind of threads of what's working for who and why is more important right now than ever. As you make your own decisions and your own kind of strategy and planning for what you're going to be doing in your business and trying to find the ways that are going to work best for you. Right. And so just to kind of run through today, I'm going to tell you about a few of the speakers that we have. I have more that I'm going to announce, but these I think are really important ones to kind of highlight these different areas where things are working. Right. Um, and so, first of all, I already announced, Andrew Taylor, whose publisher Investor Place is coming, and I want to talk a little bit about why I think it's really important to have Andrew in particular come. We all know that Investor Place in Tradesmith, which is to get the sister company, forms what's now AltaPub, uh, has been one of the stronger performers coming in out of this year. Right, they've been doing great, but there's some other stuff about Andrew you might not know, which is that while they have a very traditional newsletter business, Tradesmith is a very tool. It's a trading tool oriented business, right? And Keith Kaplan, who's the CEO of that company, or has been on the channel before. Andrew also has this history with his main guru, Lou Navalier, who is a quant. He's had trading tools for years. And so Andrew's experience combining the newsletter model and the kind of trading tool model is probably second to almost no one, right? Like he's got an enormous amount of experience here, taking the guru centric and idea centric promotional models that are copy heavy with newsletters and combining it with the trading tool side, which I think is critical because we are in an environment right now where I believe, and a lot of people that I'm talking to believe, that largely because of the AI kind of boom, but not just because of that, that the trading tool side of the business is exploding. It's growing. That segment of the market used to be the largest segment of the market. And whether it comes back and becomes the largest segment again, it's going to become a much more dominant piece than it has been in the last cycle. And so that's a very important place, whether you're in the newsletter side or in the trader education side, to really kind of get your head around. And so Andrew's going to come and talk about like kind of his experience of what's worked to sell kind of this combination. And Andrew, I love Andrew because he's one of those people who like we don't send it back in, we don't send something out without a test, right? They test all kinds of stuff. But I want to switch now to what is another wildly successful marketing model, which is the exact opposite almost of, I would say, an Agora or MarketWise kind of newsletter centric approach. And that is to trader education and tools, right? The coaching model is very different than the newsletter model. And one of the best kind of practitioners in that space is Zach Westfall, and Tim Sykes, right? Most of you know who Zach and Tim are. They've sold a remarkable amount of stuff. In fact, they're probably one of the only trader education groups that I would say you would say is of a size of a large Agora or MarketWise group, right? They're consistently successful. They have not just Tim's trader coaching programs, but they have Stocks to Trade, which is a trading platform with tools and things that has a face. It's a very powerful part of their business, and their model is completely different on the marketing side than what you would do on the newsletter side. And they're doing really well. I've asked Zach to come talk about kind of like what's working for him and how he sees the state of the industry too. Zach, he was actually at our very first summit back in Vegas and a lifetime ago. And he gave one of the best presentations we've had, because he just shares stuff that actually works and kind of his results and stuff. And that's kind of what we all want to see. So, so Zach's coming to give his take on what's working for them, and kind of take on the broader ecosystem here too. So that's two different sides using, coaching models, newsletter models, but also with trading tools, right? Which is, again, going to become an increasingly big part of the industry. And then there's this other thing that I think that is really important to talk about, and that's how FinPub audience, I've been talking about this for a while, is very valuable to different groups of people, whether it's, everyone knows the IR side, but the financial services and media side is really an interesting space. And so I don't know if you know this or not. Some of you know this, some of you don't, but there was a bank that was founded called Everbank, and it exited for $2.5 billion with a B, right? It's a fairly nice little exit. And a big part of their whole marketing strategy was actually strategic partnerships with financial publishers, with Agora groups, and things like that. And so that founding team, after exiting it now, has started a new bank called Battle Bank, to take all the lessons that they learned about building a bank and then building it in parallel with a FinPub audience, to start Battle Bank. And Jason Coots, who is the CMO of Battle Bank, he was there. He ran marketing for 8 years at Everbank. And so what I asked him to do is come and share all the stuff that he learned about a FinPub audience within a banking environment, right? Like, how did the bank's customers, coming from FinPub, how do they react? What was it that engaged them? What's the value of that customer to them? How can your customer base provide value on that side, and how can you as a publisher get value out of these other kind of financial services models that we know are really attracted to these audiences? And so I think it's a little bit of a different thing to think about, but I think it's really valuable, because I think this next business cycle, this stuff that I've been talking about for the last few years, we've had tons of examples of this. The value of the trader in the investor audience, like, it's becoming a much more known thing across all other aspects of financial services, and the impact and consequences of that is a lot more money is going to come to the space from a lot of different ways, both in terms of other people trying to build audiences, other people trying to buy audiences. And with that in mind, I asked Ian Rosen, who a lot of you know already from Tiffin. They were on they had their $100 million buying spree in FinPub interrupted by this change in the market. But they bought a ton of companies. They learned a lot of lessons trying to integrate those companies with their service, with their fintech. But also, Ian's been kind of talking about both the benefits and the problems of combining these audiences and these businesses to the venture world, because they have a massive venture network, right? They raised a few $100 million. And also, like, I know from talking to people, Ian, like, was kind enough to introduce me to a couple of people. Like, one guy was a scout for A16Z and this and that. And I remember him telling me, like, Ian is how respected Ian is in the VC side, because he's been not just the CEO of MarketWise and, major player here at Tiffin, but, he founded Even Financial, and he exited that. So as a founder, he's well respected, but then as a venture investor, his opinion, especially in the fintech media space, is really well respected. And so he's a great network there. And he's been talking to them about media, FinPub, the audience, the fintech intersection for a while. And it's got some really surprising kind of insights about how the rest of that world sees our world, even if the business isn't doing amazing from a subscription side, that audience is super valuable. And so I've asked him to come and like talk about that because we have a big announcement there on that. But like, I think venture in general is coming to the space in one form or another. I think private equity is coming to the space in one form or another. I think this next business cycle, you're going to see a lot more of that. And so this is what I mean when I say that like we're emerging into a more sophisticated business environment. Is you have, you know, the explosion of AI, you have trading tools kind of growing, a growing segment in the market. You have other parts of financial services, from banking to trading platforms and brokerages and investor relations groups, all starting to look at this at this space from a variety of different ways through their lenses of their businesses, and are looking to either build, buy, or borrow audience. So we're going to talk about that too. And you know, I've got a lot more people that I'm going to announce, a lot more conversations that have been lining up. There's a lot more here to talk about, but this is, I wanted to announce these speakers because they each represent kind of a different major area of conversation that we're going to have down in FMS. As always, you're going to, you know, we're going to do all the deal making, all the networking, you know, get all your affiliates, get all your recruiting kind of done, like we always do. But this is kind of the thread of the conversation that I want to have with everybody, and I think it's important to do that. So if you haven't registered, like, do it now. There's a link in the description below this video. Click on it, bring your team. Like, let's get together again. And if you haven't registered, or if you have registered, book your hotel room. Like, and I mean, do it fast, because I mean, this is a weird thing that happened here. I filled more rooms on my room block in the first week than I ever have at any time in the history of doing FMS. And I had the same size room block. Like, it's not like I got a tiny room block. But I had to actually add rooms, which, like, as somebody who runs conferences, like, that pains me to do because you take on room risk, but like, there's no choice. I'm running low on rooms. I had to add more to make sure that everyone had, that enough of you could get rooms. But like, their hotel is not going to have rooms if you get too close to the event. Like, it's just not, they're not going to have them. That's becoming pretty clear. So book now, so you don't have to like be in a different location, which sucks. And it's not like super expensive, and plus the hotel's on the beach, great restaurants right there. It's a cool spot. So anyway, like, I just wanted to like kind of announce those guys, and why I decided that they're the people that we're going to be talking to. I do think that another part of this is that I want to let everyone know I got a few questions about why I shifted FMS from June to January. And just want to remind you, like, June, we ended up in June because of COVID, right? Like, I used to do a Q1 event pretty much exclusively for FMS, and then COVID kind of bumped it because that year that we had to cancel, when you came back, all the conferences were jockeying for different times, and you couldn't find the same times. And so we kind of got pushed back to June. It kept creeping, but it got pushed back to June finally with COVID. And so I'm trying to reset to where we do FMS in January, because that kicks the year off. Q1 is always a great promotional period in the industry. And this is when you get together and do deals, find information, find what's working, find copywriters, find affiliates, find new media sources and traffic sources, new marketing strategies, whatever it is that you think that you need to make your business kind of better. We could probably have it there in the room. And so that was my thinking for why I pushed this forward into January. There are some other things going on. Like, I'm going to have some other events, bigger events later next year that kind of focus on some of these outside FinPub areas. And this gives me room in the schedule too. But the primary reason is like, let's just make 2024 strong. Like, let's put 2023 and late 2022 back in the rear view and get back to where this business is growing the way that we know that it can. And so again, if you haven't got your ticket, register now. If you haven't got your hotel room, like, get that quick. And with that, I'm going to go. So thanks. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody down there. If you need anything or you have any questions ahead of time, just let me know. You guys know how to reach me. I'm around. All right. And I am slow to respond sometimes. I apologize for that, but that's just me. And I'll get to it if I get to it eventually. So apologize if I owe you a call or an email. I'm trying to catch up right now. Had some family things going on that I needed to focus on. So getting back in and getting kind of aggressive with like follow-ups and everything now. So All right. I'll see you. Take care. Bye.